The morning sunlight streamed through the hospital room window as I nursed my daughter Olivia, the clean scent of disinfectant lingering in the air. It was the third morning in the maternity ward at Greenwich General Hospital, where I had worked as a pediatric nurse for 7 years. Even though I was now a patient, the familiar environment gave me a sense of comfort. "Good morning, my angel." When I touched Olivia's soft cheek, her tiny lips stopped moving. As if in response, her delicate fingers brushed against my chest. "Thank you for coming into this world," I repeated those words in my heart countless times. Our long-awaited first child. This 6-pound miracle promised James and me a happy future. Since meeting my husband 7 years ago when he was a medical resident, our life had been smooth sailing. He now thrived as an analyst at a major investment bank in Manhattan, while I maintained my independence as a nurse. "Good morning, Mrs. Brown." Dr. Sophia Chen's voice interrupted my thoughts. It was time for the usual morning rounds. "Both mother and child are doing excellently," she continued in a gentle tone while reviewing my chart. "Actually, you're in good enough condition for early discharge. You might be able to return home this afternoon." Her sudden suggestion caught me slightly off guard. As a nurse, I was certainly familiar with early discharge criteria. When both mother and child are healthy and basic care can be managed at home, discharge within 48 to 72 hours isn't unusual. But the preparations. "Should we contact your husband?" Dr. Chen began, but I shook my head. "He has an important meeting in Manhattan today." As I answered, I recalled last night's message exchange with James. "I have a really important meeting tomorrow. I might not be able to make it to the hospital," he had written, and I had shown understanding. As an investment bank analyst, sudden meetings were common. "I see. But you're a nurse, so self-care should be second nature to you, right?" I smiled at Dr. Chen's words. She had a point. For 7 years, I had cared for countless newborns and mothers at this hospital. Now it was my turn to put that experience to use as a mother myself. Looking at Olivia's sleeping face, I made my decision. I would surprise James with the news later. Surely my husband would be delighted to see us when he returned home from work. Our new home in the upscale Belle Haven district. Our dream house that we finally acquired in our 7th year of marriage. My heart raced thinking about the new life that would begin there. "Shall we start preparing for discharge then?" I nodded at Dr. Chen's words while envisioning our happy future. At 2 p.m., the gentle early summer sunlight embraced the streets of Greenwich. In the back seat of the taxi, I held Olivia in my arms. In the front passenger seat sat my Boston bag packed with 3 days' worth of hospital stays and a congratulatory bouquet from my nursing colleagues. The pale pink Gerberas and baby's breath seemed to be celebrating the beginning of our new life. "The baby seat is securely fastened," the driver said. I nodded while double-checking the seatbelt. As a nurse, I had instructed parents about safety checks countless times. Now, as a mother, I was experiencing firsthand the importance of such precautions. I felt a bit more at ease after confirming the seatbelt clicked securely into place. The taxi left the hospital and headed toward the residential area. Outside the window, people were going about their day in the early summer weather. Young couples jogging, elderly gentlemen walking their dogs, mothers pushing strollers. As I watched these everyday scenes, I imagined myself soon enjoying walks with Olivia. "My mother is coming to help next week," I murmured as if talking to someone. Olivia slept peacefully. Her newborn sleeping face was as serene as an angel's. Watching her tiny lips occasionally move melted my heart. I really wished James could be here too. But he had that important meeting in Manhattan. Besides, I had decided to make our early discharge a surprise for him. I believed he would be delighted. As the taxi entered the Belle Haven district, the scenery transformed. Well-maintained lawns, elegant street trees, and stately colonial-style mansions lined the streets. Despite it being only early June, hydrangeas were already in full bloom. We were able to own a house in this upscale neighborhood thanks to James's elite banker's salary of over $150,000 a year. Still, we had saved for years to make the down payment. I still vividly remember the joy when our efforts finally paid off. "That White House there," I told the driver, and the car gently curved to stop in front of our two-story house. White exterior walls with deep green shutters, and a stone-paved path leading to the entrance. Rose bushes were planted on both sides, their fragrance dissolving into the early summer air. Our dream home that we finally acquired in our 7th year of marriage. A brass plate reading "The Browns" gleamed elegantly beside the porch light. Just as I was about to unload our belongings, I heard a voice from next door. "Caroline, you got discharged early." I turned to see Martha, our neighbor, pausing her gardening to walk toward us. In her late 60s, she had been motherly and kind to us since we moved in. Gardening roses was her hobby, and she occasionally taught me how to care for them. Today, too, she wore gardening gloves and a straw hat for sun protection. "Yes, the baby is doing well. I heard a baby crying last night too. Is everything all right?" Those words made my hands freeze momentarily. A chill ran down my spine. "What did you say?" "I saw a young woman too." "Is she James's sister?" My heart skipped a beat. Cold sweat formed on my forehead. "Sister? My husband doesn't have a sister." I could hear my voice trembling. I hurriedly paid the taxi fare and headed toward the entrance while holding Olivia. The baby, usually a comfortable weight, felt strangely heavy now. When I tried to insert the key, I noticed something odd. The door was slightly ajar. James and I always made sure to lock it. As I opened the front door, I saw unfamiliar high heels. Black patent leather pumps, smaller than my size. And a sweet perfume scent. A floral fragrance mixed with musk, the kind young women tend to prefer. Neither James nor I wore perfume. I could feel my heart rate increasing. Stepping into the kitchen, more unsettling signs confronted me. Used dishes in the sink. 2 wine glasses on the counter. The red wine residue at the bottom of the glasses stirred ominous feelings. A still warm coffee maker. Signs that someone had recently eaten breakfast here. But only James and I lived in this house. The living room was even worse. An unfamiliar designer bag. A sophisticated design from a luxury brand, but not mine. Scattered cosmetics. High-end cosmetics in vibrant packaging carelessly placed as if this were someone's vanity. Women's fashion magazines. The latest issue of Vogue lay open on the sofa, as if declaring its owner's presence in this space. All things I had never seen before. With trembling legs, I headed upstairs. Each step up the stairs made my heart beat faster. When I opened the door to the nursery, I gasped. The carefully chosen furniture arrangement had changed. The organic cotton curtains were drawn, and unfamiliar brand baby clothes were scattered in the dim room. And used diapers. Someone had definitely been caring for a baby here last night. I instinctively held Olivia tighter. Someone in my house with my precious baby. Various thoughts swirled in my head. Last night's baby crying. The young woman's appearance. Unfamiliar belongings. All the dots seemed connected yet disconnected. But one thing was certain. Something was happening in this house. James's important meeting. Those words echoed with an entirely different meaning now. His words, his behavior, everything seemed suspicious. Just as I was about to take out my phone, I heard a sound from the upstairs bedroom. A small clatter. Someone was in my house. I froze, holding Olivia tightly. While the baby maintained her peaceful sleeping face, my heart was pounding rapidly. What could be happening in our home, where normal daily life had flowed just 3 days ago? With each step up the stairs, the creaking of the carpet seemed unnaturally loud. Sounds I usually wouldn't notice now pierced my ears. Only Olivia's soft breathing slightly calmed my anxious heart. As I reached the second-floor hallway, I was struck by a sensation of being in an alien world, despite this being our familiar home. Then I noticed something else. Mixed with the sweet perfume was some kind of foul odor. A rotten yet sweet, unpleasant smell. I stopped in front of the bedroom door. The moment I touched the doorknob, I sensed someone hurriedly putting something away inside. My hand trembled. Cold sweat ran down my back. But this was my and James's home. Our precious place built over 7 years of marriage. I couldn't run away. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. There was no one there. The window was open, with lace curtains swaying in the breeze. However, the room's condition confirmed my worst fears. The bed was unmade, with clear signs that someone had slept in it. Our precious high-end linen sheets were wrinkled and permeated with unfamiliar perfume. The pure white sheets we had bought for our anniversary now bore the warmth and scent of an unknown woman. Several long black hairs lay on the pillow. My hair was shoulder length. The closet door was slightly open. When I opened the heavy wooden door, several unfamiliar women's clothes hung there. Smaller sizes than mine. Stylish dresses and blouses. All bearing luxury brand tags like Gucci and Prada. as if this space were someone's personal closet. My clothes had been pushed to the corner, replaced by an unknown woman's wardrobe occupying large spaces. On the vanity spread an unfamiliar set of cosmetics. Brand new containers from Christian Dior, Chanel, and La Mer were displayed as if in a department store. My cosmetics had all been cleared away and stuffed into drawers. Instead, a stranger's cosmetics sat prominently, with clear signs of use. And then, the decisive evidence. 2 phone chargers on the nightstand. One was the original iPhone cable that we used as a couple. The other was a Type-C charger for Android. Both James and I only used iPhones. Both chargers were warm, indicating recent use. Everything connected. Last night's baby crying. The young woman's appearance. The scattered unfamiliar belongings. And my husband's absence due to an important meeting. My heart felt torn between wanting to deny reality and the undeniable facts before me. With trembling hands, I took out my phone and called the police. The 911 numbers on the screen felt surreal. Greenwich Police Department. Someone seems to be living in my house. Though my voice trembled, I explained the situation as calmly as possible. The location, names, and possibility of trespassing. I mentioned Olivia's presence too. The composure I had cultivated as a nurse supported me in this moment. We're dispatching officers immediately. Please wait there. If any suspicious persons return, absolutely avoid contact. Within 10 minutes, a patrol car arrived, and 2 uniformed officers quickly began assessing the situation. Lieutenant Thomas and Officer Parker. The veteran-looking older officer took my detailed statement while the younger officer thoroughly searched the house. "Do you have security cameras?" Lieutenant Thomas asked. His tone was calm, but his eyes held a sharp glint. I nodded. James had suggested installing them when we bought the house. Even in an upscale neighborhood, security was important, he'd said. Better safe than sorry, he'd insisted on getting the latest system. What irony! The officer began checking footage on his tablet. The screen showed a young woman, stylishly dressed, entering and exiting the entrance gracefully as if this were her own home. And beside her, James. My husband had his arm around her waist, standing intimately close. I felt a crushing pain in my chest. "Do you know this woman?" The image the officer showed me was of a woman who appeared to be in her late 20s. Long black hair, slim figure. And clearly visible, a large belly. She appeared to be pregnant. A familiar face. But I couldn't be certain. Rachel Morrison, 27, Lieutenant Thomas read from his documents. Appears to be a former employee at your husband's company. Worked as an analyst assistant at Goldman Sachs for 1 year. Suddenly resigned last year. A faint memory surfaced in my mind. Right, about a year ago, she had been James's subordinate when he was in charge of training new hires. A woman with a glamorous presence. I'd heard she suddenly quit afterward. Could it be that already then? 7 months pregnant. Recent records show rent arrears at her Manhattan apartment, facing eviction. Received a forced eviction notice last week. All the pieces fell into place. Last night's baby crying might have been her practicing baby care. And the unfamiliar baby clothes. For her upcoming baby. Could she be carrying James's child? I felt nauseous. Lieutenant Thomas continued in a careful tone. Who holds the ownership of this house? Joint ownership between James and me. We purchased it last June. I see. Then this is clearly a case of criminal trespass. We'll continue surveillance, but your husband and that woman are likely to return soon. We have information that both their work schedules end early today. Olivia let out a small cry. In that moment, I came to my senses. Yes, the baby's safety was the top priority now. I couldn't involve a 3-day-old newborn in the drama that was about to unfold. As a mother, I had to make the best decision. Officer, I'll evacuate to my parents' home. I'll wait at their house in Westchester. If there are any developments. Yes, we'll contact you immediately. Considering your child's safety, that's a wise decision. Officer Parker will escort you by patrol car. I hurriedly began packing essential items. Olivia's diapers, changes of clothes, milk preparations. Everything felt surreal, like a bad dream. That's when I heard the front door open. And then, a familiar voice. Thank you so much, James. I'm so happy with today's present. A woman's voice. Young and sweet. Rachel Morrison. I'm glad you like it. My husband's voice carried an unfamiliar gentleness. Greenwich Police. Lieutenant Thomas called out while quickly descending the stairs. Don't move. What? Police. Rachel's scream. Why? What's going on? James's voice trembled. This is. I slowly descended the stairs while holding Olivia. There I saw Rachel in an expensive maternity dress, and James with his arm around her waist. Their expressions froze. Caroline. The blood drained from James's face. Why, aren't you supposed to be in the hospital? I can explain. Caroline, stay calm. His voice was shaking. I had never seen James so flustered before. Still holding my baby, I directed a cold gaze at my husband. Explain. About living with your mistress in my house. While I was in the hospital. When I just gave birth and haven't even healed. No. Rachel stepped forward. Tears welled in her eyes. We love each other. Together in this house, as a new family. Police, please arrest this woman for trespassing. My voice was surprisingly calm, supported by the composure developed through 7 years as a nurse. Ms. Rachel Morrison, Lieutenant Thomas stepped forward. You're under arrest for criminal trespass. You have the right to remain silent. You also have the right to an attorney. Wait! James shouted. Breathing heavily, he desperately continued. I invited her in. Rachel isn't at fault. I gave her permission. Even if one joint owner spouse invites someone in, residence against the other owners will constitute trespass. The lieutenant's voice remained perfectly calm. Unauthorized use while the rightful resident is hospitalized is a serious violation. Trespassing in a home with a newborn is treated as an even more serious matter. The blood drained from Rachel's face. James, you promised me, didn't you? That I could use this house, for our baby. Her slender fingers touched her swollen belly. You'll need to leave your belongings here, Officer Parker announced while taking out handcuffs. They can be returned later through legal procedures. At that moment, Olivia let out a loud cry. She had been quiet since leaving the hospital, but chose this moment as if deliberately. The baby. Tears streamed down Rachel's face. My baby's half-sibling, children with the same father. Be quiet. My emotions finally exploded. Stay away from my house, my husband, and my baby. A mistress like you, talking about being this child's sibling. My voice, which I had tried to keep calm, began to shake hysterically. Olivia's crying grew louder. While Officer Parker carefully escorted Rachel outside, Lieutenant Thomas turned to me. Let's head to your parents' house now. We'll escort you by patrol car. At that moment, James tried to rush toward me. Caroline, wait. Please listen. Stay back, the lieutenant stepped between us. Any further approach could be considered stalking. I walked to the entrance on trembling legs. All future communication must be through lawyers. I left with just those words, without looking back. That night, at my parents' home in Westchester, I spoke on the phone with Sarah Martinez, a prominent divorce attorney my mother had recommended. First, we'll file for a temporary restraining order. Attorney Martinez's voice was filled with conviction. Given the evidence of trespassing and the presence of a newborn, it's likely to be issued immediately. What about the house rights? My mother asked worriedly. Though jointly owned, we can assert your right to primary residence. The presence of a newborn is a factor the court will weigh heavily. The mistress's pregnancy. My voice caught. It's clear evidence of culpability. New York state courts take such actions very seriously. Particularly betrayal of a spouse immediately after childbirth will be judged more severely. As I listened to the legal explanations, I gazed at Olivia's sleeping face. My child, just 3 days old, was breathing peacefully despite this chaos. Watching her tiny lips occasionally move filled my mother's heart with sadness. The divorce proceedings. Though stumbling over the words, I voiced my determination. Your decision is right, Attorney Martinez's voice resonated gently. For you and your baby's new life. As my mother prepared Olivia's bassinet, I continued ignoring the incoming calls on my cell phone. Messages of apology and plea from James. I didn't even mark them as read. Outside the window, early summer rain had begun falling quietly, as if washing away this day. The last day in our Greenwich house. The thought made my chest tighten. But there was no turning back. This was the final day of our family. Looking at Olivia's sleeping face, I strengthened my resolve. A new life was about to begin. I must live strongly, both as a mother and as a woman, to protect this tiny life. And for my own dignity. December 2025, I walked confidently through the halls of Greenwich General Hospital, decorated for Christmas, carrying Olivia. My new head nurse uniform still felt a bit heavy. Head Nurse Brown, here are the documents for today's meeting. A young nurse called out to me. 2 months after my promotion, the staff still seemed to be adjusting to my new position. Life had changed dramatically since that day 6 months ago. I decided to sell the Greenwich house. Instead, I purchased a new apartment near the hospital. Though compact, it was plenty spacious for life with Olivia. Caroline. On our way home, stopping at our usual daycare, Martha was waiting. Since that day, she had been helping with daycare pickup twice a week. She was full of energy today too, the daycare teacher reported with a smile. At 6 months old, Olivia was growing healthy and strong. Her large eyes, said to resemble her mother's, always sparkled with curiosity. "Hey, did you hear?" Martha began in a quiet voice. "James was indicted, I heard. For fraud and aiding trespassing. I had indeed seen that article in the newspaper. Goldman Sachs had fired him immediately. Reemployment in the financial industry would be virtually impossible for him now. As for Rachel, I heard she returned to her parents' home in Boston right after giving birth. Unable to handle the online harassment, she had deleted all her social media accounts. She too had begun her journey as a single mother. Our new community dinner is this Sunday, Martha changed the subject. Everyone is looking forward to seeing you and Olivia. Every Sunday, supportive neighbors gathered for home parties. The entire community was trying to support me as a single mother. Mrs. Brown, looking forward to tomorrow's hospital committee meeting. A passing doctor called out. I was supported by so many people, both at the hospital and at home. Walking through the twilight streets of Greenwich, I gazed at Olivia's sleeping face. Her tiny lips moved as if she were nursing. The new life I had resolved to begin on that rainy night 6 months ago hadn't been easy. But this child's smile healed all hardships. We're home. As I opened the apartment door, warm light embraced us. This was our new home.